On the 28th of June, 1914, a 19-year-old boy stood on a street corner in Sarajevo. He had already failed. His mission was over. His friends had scattered. He was hungry, so he walked into a nearby shop to buy a sandwich. And when he walked back outside, a car pulled up directly in front of him. By accident, the wrong turn, the wrong street, the wrong moment. He reached into his coat, pulled out a pistol, and fired 2 shots. Those 2 bullets killed over 17 million people, started the First World War, destroyed 4 empires, and changed the course of human history forever. This is the story of Gavrilo Princip, a teenager from a poor village, who accidentally changed everything. To understand what Gavrilo Princip did, you first have to understand where he came from, because nobody is born willing to kill. Something creates that willingness. Something builds it, year by year, experience by experience. Princip was born in 1894 in a small village called Obuljaj in Bosnia, a land that had been controlled, conquered, and passed between empires for centuries. His family were Serbian Orthodox Christians, poor farmers, struggling to survive in land that didn't truly belong to them. His mother gave birth to 9 children. 6 of them died before reaching adulthood. Gavrilo was the 7th child. His parents almost named him differently, but a local priest suggested the name Gavrilo after the Archangel Gabriel, the messenger of God, a name that carries weight, a name chosen by fate, or so it seemed. Growing up, Gavrilo was small for his age, thin, often sick. He suffered from tuberculosis from a young age, a disease that would follow him for the rest of his short life. But what he lacked in physical strength, he made up for in his mind. He was sharp, intensely curious. He read everything he could find: history, philosophy, politics. He asked questions that made adults uncomfortable. Questions like, why do we live like this? Who decided that we should be ruled by others? What gives an empire the right to own a people? These were dangerous questions. In Bosnia in the early 1900s, dangerous questions led to dangerous answers. Bosnia in 1914 was not a free country. It was controlled by the Austro-Hungarian Empire, one of the most powerful empires on earth at the time, stretching across Central Europe, ruling over dozens of different ethnic groups, many of whom did not want to be ruled at all. For Serbian people living in Bosnia, life under Austro-Hungarian control felt like humiliation. Their culture was suppressed, their identity was threatened. Their land was governed by people who didn't speak their language, didn't share their religion, and didn't care about their future. And across the border, Serbia existed as an independent nation, a living proof that Serbian people could govern themselves, could be free. For young men like Gavrilo Princip, that contrast was unbearable. Why should those Serbians be free while we live under foreign boots? This feeling was everywhere, in the cafes, in the schools, in the whispered conversations between young men who had grown up feeling like strangers in their own land. And into this environment came an idea, a movement, a group of people who believed that the only answer was revolution. In the shadows of Serbian nationalism, there was an organization. They called themselves Ujedinjenje ili Smrt, unity or death. But the world came to know them by another name, the Black Hand, a secret society of Serbian military officers and nationalists. Their goal was simple and violent: unite all Serbian people under one nation, by any means necessary. They recruited young men, passionate men, men who felt the burning injustice of occupation, men who had nothing to lose. Gavrilo Princip found his way into this world through a student nationalist group called Young Bosnia. They shared the same ideas, the same anger, the same belief that violence could achieve what politics could not. Princip traveled to Belgrade, the capital of Serbia. He tried to join the Serbian army. He wanted to fight, to do something real. But they rejected him. He was too small, too thin, too sick, rejected by the army. He returned to his books, to his anger, to the question that consumed him: what can one person actually do? And then he heard news that would answer that question. In the spring of 1914, word spread through nationalist circles. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the entire Austro-Hungarian Empire, was coming to Sarajevo. Franz Ferdinand was not just any royal figure. He was the next emperor, the man who would one day rule the empire that controlled Bosnia, the man who represented everything that young Serbian nationalists despised. And he was coming, in person, to their city, to Sarajevo. June 28th was the chosen date. And here is where history adds a layer of bitter irony. June 28th was not just any day, it was Vidovdan, St. Vitus Day, the most sacred date in Serbian history, the anniversary of the Battle of Kosovo in 1389, a battle where Serbian forces fell to the Ottoman Empire, a day of national mourning, a day that every Serbian child grew up knowing, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire chose that exact day to parade their future emperor through the streets of Sarajevo. Whether it was deliberate provocation or simple ignorance, it didn't matter. To men like Gavrilo Princip, it felt like a slap in the face. A plan began to form. Princip and a small group of fellow conspirators made a decision. Franz Ferdinand would not leave Sarajevo alive. The conspirators numbered 7 in total, 7 young men, positioned along the Appel Quay, the route the Archduke's motorcade would take through the city. Each man was armed, bombs, pistols, cyanide capsules to swallow after the act, so they would never be taken alive. They were nervous, young, some of them teenagers. One of them, it is said, was shaking so badly that the man next to him had to steady his hand. The motorcade arrived on schedule, 6 cars moving through the crowded streets, flags flying, crowds watching, and then the first conspirator froze. He couldn't do it. He let the cars pass. The second conspirator stepped forward. He threw his bomb. It bounced off the folded roof of the Archduke's car and exploded under the following vehicle. Several people were wounded, but Franz Ferdinand was alive. The motorcade sped up, rushed past the remaining conspirators before they could react. And just like that, the plan had failed. The Archduke arrived safely at the town hall. The conspirators scattered. Some tried to swallow their cyanide capsules. The capsules were old. They didn't work. Several threw themselves into the river. The river was too shallow. They survived. The mission was over. It had failed completely. Gavrilo Princip walked away from his position on the quay. Defeated, he wandered to a nearby delicatessen, Schiller's Delicatessen, and he bought a sandwich. Meanwhile, Franz Ferdinand made a decision. He wanted to visit the people who had been injured in the bomb attack. He would go to the hospital, show that he was not afraid, show that the empire was not shaken. His motorcade set off again. But nobody told the lead driver about the change of route. He turned onto Franz Josef Street, the wrong street, the original planned route. An officer in the car realized the mistake immediately. He called out to the driver, "Stop, turn around, wrong way." The driver braked, began to reverse. The engine stalled. The car sat motionless. On the corner of Franz Josef Street, right in front of Schiller's Delicatessen, right in front of Gavrilo Princip, who was standing there, eating his sandwich, less than 5 feet away. For a moment, time stopped. Princip looked at the car. He recognized the Archduke immediately. He didn't think. He didn't plan. He reached into his coat, pulled out his FN model 1910 pistol, stepped forward, and fired twice. The first bullet hit Franz Ferdinand in the jugular vein. The second struck his wife Sophie in the abdomen. Within the hour, both were dead, and the world would never be the same. What happened next is one of the most devastating examples in all of history of how fragile peace really is. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia for the assassination. They issued an ultimatum, a list of demands so humiliating that Serbia could never fully accept them. Serbia tried. They agreed to almost everything. Almost, but almost was not enough. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, and here is where the world's alliance system turned a regional conflict into a global catastrophe. Russia was allied with Serbia. Russia began mobilizing its army. Germany was allied with Austria-Hungary. Germany declared war on Russia. France was allied with Russia. Germany declared war on France. To attack France, Germany marched through Belgium. Britain was treaty-bound to protect Belgian neutrality. Britain declared war on Germany within 6 weeks of those 2 gunshots in Sarajevo. Every major power in Europe was at war, like dominoes, each one falling into the next. A system built on alliances and agreements and threats collapsed under the weight of 2 bullets, fired by a 19-year-old boy who had gone out to buy a sandwich. The numbers are almost impossible to comprehend. 17 million dead, 20 million wounded, entire generations of young men, swallowed by trenches and mud and poison gas. 4 empires collapsed: the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Russian Empire, the German Empire. The map of Europe was redrawn completely. New countries were created, old ones were destroyed.
And the peace that followed was so brutal and humiliating that it planted the seeds of an even greater catastrophe. World War II, the Holocaust, the Soviet Union, the Cold War, all of it can be traced in a straight line back to that street corner in Sarajevo, back to that wrong turn, back to those 2 shots. Gavrilo Princip was arrested immediately. He was 19 years old under Austro-Hungarian law. He was too young to be executed. The minimum age for the death penalty was 20, so instead, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison, the maximum sentence allowed for his age. He was taken to Theresienstadt Fortress, a cold, damp, brutal place. His tuberculosis worsened rapidly. In prison, as the war he had started raged across Europe, he wasted away. He lost his arm to the disease. He spent his final days in a small, dark cell, knowing that millions of people were dying, knowing that the world was burning, and knowing that he had lit the match. He died on April 28, 1918. He was 23 years old. He never saw the end of the war he started. He never saw what his 2 bullets had truly done. Here is the question that historians have debated for over a century. Was Gavrilo Princip a terrorist, or was he a freedom fighter? In Serbia and Bosnia today, there are people who consider him a hero, a young man who stood up against imperial oppression, who gave his life for the idea of freedom. In other parts of the world, he is seen as the man who started the deadliest conflict in human history up to that point, a fanatic, a murderer. The truth is more complicated than either version. Princip was a product of his environment. He was shaped by poverty, by occupation, by injustice that was very real. His anger was not manufactured, it was earned, but the consequences of his actions went so far beyond anything he intended or imagined. That intention almost becomes irrelevant. He wanted to free his people. Instead, he helped destroy an entire world. The story of Gavrilo Princip teaches us something that is deeply uncomfortable. History is not always changed by the most powerful people. Sometimes it is changed by the most desperate ones, by a sick teenager from a poor village standing on a street corner at exactly the wrong moment, or exactly the right one, depending on who you ask. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand did not cause World War I alone. Historians are clear about that. The war was already waiting to happen. The alliances were already loaded. The tensions were already at breaking point. Princip didn't create the conditions for war. He simply pulled the trigger, and the world, that was already leaning over the edge, fell. On a street corner in Sarajevo, there is a small marker today. It shows the exact spot where Gavrilo Princip stood, where he fired those 2 shots, where the modern world was born in fire and blood. Every year, people walk past it. Most of them don't stop. Most of them don't know what happened there, but everything around them, every border, every nation, every consequence of 2 world wars traces back to that spot, to that moment, to a 19-year-old boy who went out to buy a sandwich and accidentally changed everything.